Hi, this is Eric Martin. We're at Board Game Geek. We're looking at Level 7 Omega Protocol. We got to make the brackets here. With Will Schick from Privateer Press. Now, this is not a sequel to Level 7.
In a way,
sorta.
So it actually, narrative-wise, it is the sequel to the events that happened in Level 7 Escape. However, this is a standalone board game experience that is entirely different in a lot of ways from Level 7, besides being set in the same world with the same setting and being story-wise connected. Where Level 7 Escape was a semi-cooperative, get out of the dungeon kind of game, you know, run for your life, try to avoid conflict as much as possible, backstab your friends so they're the ones who get eaten by the aliens so you can get to the elevator. In this game, one player takes on the role of the Overseer, who's the alien overlord basically, and he's controlling the Gin and their clones and their monsters, very much like a game master would in an RPG.
Right.
And then 1 to 5 other players take on the role of elite special ops commandos who have been sent to go clear out this facility now that everything's broken down because of the actions the players took in Level 7 Escape. So they're going in loaded to the gills with heavy fire, super weapons, and hardcore training. They're going to go in and kill everything in sight. So it is an all-out
simple goal.
Board game
That's
experience.
it.
That's right.
That's right.
Just like Level 7 Escape, Omega Protocol is scenario-based, so there are actually 9 scenarios.
Okay.
Each scenario shows a map layout, gives the Overseer player his options and how to set up that map, because, well, the tiles of the map are always fixed. One of the cool things is that, you'll see we have these room card stacks here. So the game will give you several different room card stack layouts, so they're always going to be the same stacks. But it's your choice as the Overseer where those room stacks get placed. So every level of Level 7 Omega Protocol can be different. You can try different tactics, you can try to fool players into doing silly things. Like last night I was playing a game where I threw out some corrosive gas to make them go away from the objective they were actually looking for because they didn't want to get injured by it. So there's a lot of optional choices, despite the fact that the map always stays static.
Okay.
In addition, for the characters themselves, they actually have a lot of replayability and interest in the fact that each character at the start of the scenario gets to pick 6 points of kit cards. And so there's a number of different kit cards that are specific to the character type. So in this case, we have our heavy weapon support specialist.
Right. We can just unfold this here. We've got different ones.
Rifleman, countermeasure specialist. So they can buy each kit card.
Oh, yes, we forgot about.
And you basically get 6 points of kit in order to purchase at the start of the game. And your choice of kit is going to greatly influence your role on the team, how you interact with others. For example, the commander character can actually make himself very powerful in combat, or he can take a suite of support abilities that allow him to make other characters fire, to make other characters move, and that kind of stuff. And it can be very powerful if used properly. So you get this team synergy that's really important, covering each other's fields of fire, being ready to take on the aliens as they come. And so that's a whole lot of fun. In addition, the Overseer player, the way he controls his actions is through a shared resource system called Adrenaline. So in Level 7 Escape, people might remember we had Fear. In this case, we have Adrenaline. So when a soldier takes an action like, say, a move, he spends an Adrenaline to move up to his speed stat. And his stats for move, his defenses, and his special ability for the turn are determined by the stance that he chooses to take. And each soldier has 3 different stances. Cautious, Advanced, Hustle, and Braced are the ones for our heavy support. The nice thing about Braced is our heavy support or a specialist only attacks for 1 adrenaline. So he's getting a serious bonus from like locking himself down, putting his gun on full auto, and getting ready to rip everything apart. However, in that stance, he's a lot more vulnerable to alien attacks. So the team kind of has to protect him as he's like focused on firing. As a soldier spends his adrenaline, his stance indicates a limit. So in this case, he can only go to 4 adrenaline. Once he's spent as much adrenaline on his turn as he wants, his turn ends. The rest of the turn takes the team. At the end of that, and the start of the next round, before they take their turn, they're going to clear all their adrenaline. And that goes right back to the Overseer to pay for all of his abilities. So the Overseer player benefits by making the players do more stuff on their turn. So like these little clone guys here get killed really, really easy. But every time they kill a clone, you actually are happy as the Overseer because you're going to have more resources to do horrible things to the players on your turn.
Right.
And the way that you do that is you spend for things in your dashboard. And one of the really neat things about the game is that you get to build the dashboard out of these little puzzle cut pieces, so you can make it look as wild and
you had a few others off on the side there.
And so when you spend for an ability, you put the amount of adrenaline from your pile into that little hole right there, and that shows it, and there's a little bit of a refresh rate. So in this case, Surprise Attack burns off 2 every time my turn comes around. So there's
Okay.
going to be a little delay. So I'm not just going to be able to continually hammer on you with my best abilities. I'm going to have to wait. And so
Right.
I'm managing the adrenaline that you're giving me to make sure that my guys can attack, that they can do their cool abilities, and that I can react well to your turns. And so you have a nice little cyclical resource system that players have to manage and the Overseer has to manage in order to maximize their effectiveness in the game.
Okay. What else? We got dice.
So we have
got
dice,
other
definitely.
stuff here.
There's some custom dice, and that's how you do attacks in different values like that. So for a weapon attack, you'll notice that the M62 Bull weapon for the heavy support gets 2 reds and 3 blacks. And that's great, because reds have hits, which are the little explosions,
Yep.
on 4 sides. They have a double hit on 1, and they have only 1 blank. The black die, however, have 2 blanks, 3 hits, and 1 double hit. So
Okay.
your accuracy is improved if you're rolling red dice. Your likelihood to kill things is better. You're going to compare that to defenses, and then you're going to try to deal wounds. Most of the clones can only ever take 1 wound because they're just little chumps. Our
Okay.
heroes can take up to 5.
Okay.
The last thing about the game is that if your commando is reduced, knocked out of all his wounds, there's a tipping point in the game called Crisis Point, and that's a certain number of rounds that's defined by the scenario.
Okay.
Before Crisis Point, it's kind of like any classic video game. When your buddy gets knocked down, he can kind of crawl a little bit as he bleeds out, but you can go pick him back up, right? After Crisis Point, though, all bets are off, and that's when, if you go down, you can get put out of the game for good. And
Okay.
so one
I
of
was
the
going to ask about that. You mentioned the win condition for them is to
complete the scenario.
complete the scenario.
Correct.
And what about the Overseer?
So the
What is he
Overseer's
trying to
win
do?
condition can also vary by scenario. Typically,
Okay.
he always wins if he can eliminate all the players after Crisis Point.
Yes, at that point, there's
Yeah.
not much
In
competition.
addition, there are a couple of scenarios where the Overseer is trying to get some of these big guys out of the gate, and these guys are trying to defend. There are some where he's trying to do certain
And
things.
do they know about that? Ed?
They do.
They do know it all.
The scenario objectives are not secret, so both sides
Okay.
know what the other is trying to do, and they can kind of plan accordingly.
Okay.
One of the goals with the scenario is really to not only tell a great story, just like we did with Escape, where there's a cohesive narrative that kind of talks about the whole movie experience, and there's a lot of different ways that players can link those scenarios together. One of my favorite is that I talked a little bit about the time turns and how you hit Crisis Point.
Right.
Well, if you're adventurous enough, you can actually play all 9 scenarios linked on the same clock. And so
Okay.
you count all of the turns. So the more the Overseer can slow you in the beginning, the harder those previous missions are going to be. The faster you can go, the better it is. So you get
Just
that.
because you have
get a
the
very much
time
more,
to build
correct.
up the defenses as you mess around.
And so that can be really fun. That scenario experience allows you to have several different experiences as well. So we've got your straight run and gun to the objective. We've got your defend the point and don't let the enemies get past you. We've got
Okay.
to go find and prime the explosives. So you have a bit of a scavenger hunt mission. And that makes every scenario unique in of itself. And so we tried, just like with level 7 where you have different play experiences and different scenarios, there's a lot of different kind of end game results to make sure that each scenario plays a little differently and has a different tactical and strategic choice.
Okay. Super. Thanks very much for the overview.
Thank you so
I
much
mean,
for having
I
me.
imagine this is not the end of level 7.
It is not. No, we
Has
definitely
to
have more
do
plans,
more.
not only for Omega Protocol, but also for the game as a whole, because we have a whole narrative story that we want to encapsulate. So level 7, there's plenty more on the way.
All right. Thanks, Will.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.